Welcome to this new series of paint overs. My name is Clor and I'm the artist behind the channel. So I'm starting a new project and here's the little summary I made for it. It is quite simple. Basically, you send me your digital artwork and I spend 1 hour painting over it and reviewing it. The process is recorded and then narrated over. And this way, I get to explain what I'm doing and hopefully give you a few tips to improve your art. Right now, I'm accepting any sort of digital submissions from finished artworks to sketches, works in progress, and more, with only one limit: no animation and only static images. Any skill level is welcome too, so don't hesitate to reach out if you find yourself needing a little push to keep practicing. To participate, you can send me an email with your submission and perhaps with a few questions or comments if you have anything you want to say or want me to pay attention to in particular. And of course, don't forget to include your socials so that I can credit you in the video properly. There's a little fee to enter just to cover the hour-long painting process, and right now it's sitting at 15 euros, which can be sent through my PayPal. So if you have any question about this, about the project overall, or if you want to sign up, feel free to hit me up. Now let's get started on the actual paint over. So for this first episode, I'm actually going to paint over an old artwork of mine. It's a portrait of a king from a fantasy world, so we're looking to get the face extra nice and catchy here because it's the main focus. The first thing we're going to do is check the values of the artwork by turning it to grayscale. As you can see, it's not really balanced, with mostly pure black, some dark gray, and 2 lighter areas around the face and the shirt which kinda stick out. That's an issue we'll have to keep in mind during the paint over. Now, another thing stands out as well. There are lots of structural and anatomical mistakes here. For example, the face is too big for the size of the head, so let's resize it a tiny bit. It is also stretched out horizontally, so the features look enlarged. We're going to rework the eyes and make them follow the curve of the head more. Basically, the head is a big ball, so you want to have your eyes follow the curve and follow the different planes of the face. You don't want the eyes slapped on it as is. And it means the person's right eye has to be tucked behind the nose bridge a little, with the exterior corner of the eyelid hidden from view and the bone around the orbit partly visible since they protrude out. So let's fix that first, and for that I'm going to speed up the process a little bit. Once the eyes are mostly placed in the correct position, we can tweak the rest of the face accordingly. The nose is too big, so let's shorten it a tad. Same goes with the mouth. We don't want a Joker smile, so the corners have to align with the middle of the eyeballs. That's a general rule, but that's what we're going for here. I'm also reworking some of the facial structure, like the cheekbones, the ears, and more, to account for the different planes of the face and make it look less flat and more rounded. The goal here is not to make a perfect painting. I'm not looking to have a masterpiece by the end, but simply, I want to answer the question, what's this artist's next step in their journey? The person, well, old me in this case, got the fundamentals down. They have a certain understanding of things. What is the next thing that should be on their practice list? What is one solution they can already implement with their current set of skills that will solve the issues they are facing. That is why I'm trying to stay as close to the original drawing as I can and not revamp it completely. Paintovers in this series will always try to give you a few ideas and tips you can use to carry on practicing, while keeping true to the idea of the original artwork as much as possible. So once we've secured most of the facial structure, we can move on to the rest of the portrait, the chest and the neck. The overall build here is not bad at all. The shoulders are placed correctly, so not much to change. I'm simply going to shorten the neck a bit and bring more volume to the chest. The color is giving the wrong impression, as if this poor guy had been stretched a bit too much, so if you want to tweak proportions, especially after the fact, once everything is mostly done already, don't hesitate to sketch a few guidelines on top of your painting, just to remember where things go. This really helps visualize, because sometimes with complicated attires and angle, it's easy to miss something. So here I'm doing that in red on a new layer. When the anatomy has been corrected, we can safely move on to detailing the clothes again. I'm shifting the color up according to the new neckline, and I'm simplifying the folds on the rest of his white shirt. A recurring problem here is that the folds have no hierarchy, so it looks like a lot of thin stripes put side to side. For cloth to look natural, you want to vary the size and depth of the wrinkles. Less is more in that case. 2 or 3 prominent folds are enough to give the impression of fabric, else the details are going to drown everything out. I'm also lightening them up a bit, as I noticed the folds were shaded with almost 100% black. When you look at a shirt, the surface on the chest can be wrinkly, sure, but never as contrasted, because the folds aren't that deep. They're mostly like waves in most cases, so lighter shading is a good choice here. I really like the jewelry and dragon pins, so I'm not going to touch them at all. The metal texture is on point with really intricate details, which is nice. In regards to the black jacket, there is a huge fix that can be done. Make it not 100% black. Even if the jacket is black, you want it to reflect some light still. Remember what we noticed with the values when we began? It basically creates a huge blob of just black with no volume, no texture, no nothing. Bringing up a few faint highlights helps distinguish different areas and materials, and here it shows the actual 3D look of the chest, so let's do that. I notice the light is mostly coming from the right of the picture where the pink tones are, so we're going to emphasize that side and highlight the left side a bit less to keep the same light direction. We can finish tweaking the values later, this is just a first go at it. Big changes are done, so we can move to the smaller changes. I'm turning back to the face and reworking the wrinkles. Just like with folds in the fabric, we're looking to add some hierarchy here. If the wrinkles are just a mass of over-detailed stripes all over the face, there's not going to be any strong focal point and everything is going to be drawn out. A good fix is to add a variety of smaller wrinkles in important places, the eyes especially here, and leave the rest less detailed, save for a few larger wrinkles. Basically, the viewer will draw information from the main focal point, here the eyes, and fill in the blanks to picture wrinkles in other areas, shaded, dark areas, etc. And like this, we get the illusion of the same amount of details, but with more readability, which is nice. For the hair, I noticed the character has really dark hair with little highlights or grayer areas. He's supposed to be on the older side, so perhaps we can add some gray strands in there, as well as some more volume. So to do that, I'm starting with the darkest shade, which is black, and working my way towards the highlights to create texture. The lighter I go and the less strokes I make, and the tinier they become too, to give the impression of a few unruly hairs hitting the light. I'm still following the same light direction, so everything will be darker on the left side of the head. While fixing the face, I also kinda removed most of the character's beard, so let's add it back using the same technique. I like to make the beard kind of fade into the skin with no sharp edge between the beard and the skin itself, especially with a darker palette like here. It suggests the hairs continue past the chunk of fuzz, but are too small to be truly seen, so that's what I like to do, but if you prefer you can go for a clean cut kind of style, it's really just personal preference here. Finally, same deal with the eyebrows. We're highlighting them the same way so that they're not just some blob of black and actually have some sort of texture to them. I'm also fixing some smaller stuff I missed along the way, so... Now it's time to check for values again. As you can see, the huge area of pure black is gone, and the highlighted areas are more controlled and fade into the darker areas more naturally. We balance things out. As a side note, it's good to frequently check your values by turning the artwork black and white just to make sure everything is how it's supposed to be, not overly exposed, not underexposed, with details bleeding into each other, etc. Removing all colors allows you to focus on that alone, which is very useful. All the big changes are done, so we can finally do the last tweaks to the light direction. I'm using an overlay layer to softly darken some areas and lighten some others. You can change the opacity to really control the result as well. With another layer in the color blending mode this time, I can intervene on the hues and change the way the colors spread. We have two light sources, blue on the left and a brighter pink red on the right, so since the blue is so prominent, I'm giving more emphasis to the red with that layer. It also serves to add some color touches to the parts I reworked a lot, because basically blending always removes some of the saturation, so last minute changes can really help in that regard. Finally, for the face, I want to add a few more hues in there because it's very blue, gray and red at the moment. So because of blood vessels and bones, the forehead is usually more yellow. It has more bones and less blood vessels. The cheeks and nose are more on the red side and the chin is bluish. So using yet another color layer, we can add those hues to the mix very subtly and give more intensity to the skin. If we go into more details, the eyelids are also reddish and the area under is usually kind of blue too, so let's add that. To catch the eye, I'm adding a few more light values on the important parts like the face and the hair. Since the face is where the contrast is the most powerful with bright light and dark shadows, it will attract the viewer's eye first, which is what we want. It's a portrait, so the face should be the focus. The level menu is also very good to achieve this and control your highlights, midtones and shadows. You can decide how bright and exposed you want the picture to be. As I said before, blending also makes a lot of the colors fading, so adding back a bit of saturation is sometimes really necessary depending on the results you want to achieve, of course. So we're doing that as well, on top of changing the values. I'm also using the color adjustment menu to slightly alter the shadows, midtone and highlight, and considering the dark palette, the original painting was shaded using mostly black and gray, and they both give a muddy and dirty feeling to the artwork, so we want to avoid them as much as possible in this case. So I'm changing the shadows to something of a cyan hue and highlights to a more reddish and yellow hue to get rid of any overly grayish area. And voila! paint over is done. I hope it was useful to you and provided you with a bunch of tips that you can use for your own works as well. I'm on the lookout for art to paint over, so if you want to have your artwork reviewed as well, please send me an email at artofclor@gmail.com. All the info can be found in the description box as well. And that's it. Thanks for watching and see you next time!